Have and have not fans, last night was the night for the Veronica show season finale episode. And I gotta say, I gotta say, the episode itself, it was, here's my thing. I did like it, let's put it that way, because the beginning scene, and I've said it before, the funeral home scene is hands down one of the standout scenes of the season. I guess you could say the debate is whether or not the scene where Hannah was in the hospital, she was breaking down after Quincy Jr. was dead, versus the funeral home scene. Arguably, Hannah's performance at the hospital is probably the Emmy moment of the show. Not just the season, but the show. But in terms of the funeral home scene, it was fantastic. What I loved about it was, to me personally, last week was Benny's time to shine in terms of like standing up, not just for Hannah, but also to say, Candace, you need to get your act together. You need to look at yourself, because at the end of the day, this is your fault. And then in this episode, some people were like, you know what, why didn't Benny stand up for his mom? Here's the thing. Benny tried not just to snap in there and whatnot. He tried to comfort his sister because she unknowingly opened up the coffin and saw the body in there. So I do like how Benny was trying to, again, it was like a tough love thing where Candace she was in grief. Now, this isn't me defending Candace. Let's make that clear. She was in grief, so the moments where she was like mad at the funeral home director, but he was trying to like calm her down just to explain, I didn't know you were going to do that. Neither did Benny. And they were like, we came here to view the body. It's like, why didn't you tell me? And again, I like that, because when she was calming down, you could see it in her face that, okay, it was my fault for opening that casket because I lashed out. Okay, it was cool. But then it's like, when she started opening her mouth to talk about Hannah doing this to spite her, I was just like, girl, just when I was starting to feel bad for you, you had to open your damn mouth and just say some stupid stuff. But as I said in my other video, breaking down the funeral home scene as a whole, and again, the title of that video is How Will Candace Afford Quincy Jr.'s Funeral? And I highly suggest watching that. I mean, that's a 20-minute video, but I really go in depth about my thoughts on last week's funeral home scene, as well as the preview for, last night's episode. And she goes on about, how she can't wait for Hannah to be the one in the box, burning, and she'll be spitting at the unmarked grave. And then Hannah what I love about Hannah is the two scenes. Number one, where she went on Candace about how this is all your fault. First with Quincy, then with Warlock. It's just an ongoing cycle. And then the people at your funeral in the unmarked grave, nobody's going to know where you're buried. The only people that will know and that will be there to spit on your grave are all the people you've conned. And that's very true statement. I believe that. But when you think about a lot of the people she's conned is most likely dead at this point. You got Quincy and Warlock. I mean, I could think of people like, Jim or Erica, if she's alive at the end of the day. And the list goes on. I'm pretty sure there's, and maybe even like Charles or whatnot. Well, maybe not Charles, but you know what I mean. Now, oh man, the fact that she wanted to cremate her son was just ridiculous in my opinion, because the ironic part about it was because in her twisted mind, and again, it's hard for me to even chalk it up to grief because that's just crazy talking there, or basically evilness. She says that Hannah let her son die just to spite her. And then she's going to end up burning her son, cremating him, just to spite Hannah and God. And that was really disappointing to me. I really did not want to see that. But let me just put it this way. I was about to cut my TV off after the scene where, Hannah viewed the body for the last time and they walked out the funeral home, because that was a wrap. Like, I could have stopped the episode right there and been fully satisfied. I know that probably sounds crazy, but I'm not lying. I could have cut my TV off when Benny was the last one to look at the, the casket and close the door. I could have cut my TV off right there and been fully satisfied with the finale. I'm not lying when I say that, because that was so powerful. I was choked up. I didn't cry, but damn it, I was choked up. Because what I loved about that scene the most, especially Hannah's goodbye to, Q's body, was the fact that, she even told Candace, like, look, I don't want to talk to God right now. I'm mad, but at the end of the day, he is still God. And even in the other episode where she didn't even want to recite the Lord's Prayer with Benny, she still was able to reach down into her soul to give, like, Quincy Jr. like a tearful Christian goodbye, so to speak. Hopefully he's in the arms of God and he's not alone, and that you've had a hard life, but I'm glad we found you when we did and whatnot. Because remember, if he hadn't been found by Benny when he was, if I'm not mistaken, when he got rescued, they took him to the hospital. He had this illness. Excuse me for not remembering the name, but like the illness, the stuff that Quincy had the pills for. Not to mention all the the lashings on his back. Obviously from being physically abused by his aunt. Remember that the doctor said he was going to be infected. Well, excuse me, his bruises and whatnot were on the verge of being infected had not Benny brought him to the rescued him, and they brought him to the hospital, when they did. So that's good. But another thing to keep in mind is the fact that that scene was just so powerful, again, because of the fact that Hannah just reached down. And what I loved about, and this again was just a little thing, but even I asked a question in another video about, well, Hannah was technically the legal guardian, so wouldn't she have to say about the funeral? And I love how Catherine, chimed in with that. It's like, let me get the lawyer. But Hannah didn't even want to fight it. She simply said that this is her child. This is her child. And I did love that, because I hate the fact that he's most likely going to get cremated. I think that's ridiculous. But I do love the fact that she simply said that's her child. And I do love that. So I got to say this much, just by that scene alone, all the people in my comments on all the various videos that say I'm too hard on Candace and try to defend Candace and whatnot, where y'all at? Like, literally, I want you to justify her actions in last night's episode, please. And I'm not just saying this to be sarcastic, but if you can write a well-written comment to at least kind of sway me, or at least, make me kind of side-eye, okay, you make sense. Because I cannot in no way, shape, or form really see any kind of justification for her actions there. And another thing I did like about the episode was, even though the episode was called The Veronica Show, everybody was giving Candace a piece of it. It was just like, wow, opening her eye. Well, I wouldn't even say opening her eyes, but just telling her the truth. It's like everything you did is like, it goes back to you. You're the one who conned people. You're the one who lied. And, I'm going to kind of skip around just a little bit now, but I just want to focus on the Candace arc of the episode first, and I'll get to the other bits and pieces. When she goes back to the hotel and Jim was there, and I actually did like the dialogue. It was better than I thought, because in the preview, it just showed that, he just wants sex, but it goes deeper than that in terms of, hey, this is about your son, and then the whole warlock thing. But Jim shouldn't have ran his mouth, because one question that people have been going back and forth about is, did Jim have something to do with Quincy Jr.'s death, in terms of, did he get like a sharp shooter or a sniper to go in there, shoot from a distance? But I'm just like, that really doesn't make sense. There are only two ways that Jim hired a sniper to kill Quincy Jr. Well, actually three, three questions asked. Number one, how did he even know where Candace was? Or where Hannah and Benny were staying? Number two, the only way the sniper could have gotten Quincy Jr. that directly was if there was like a window in the bathroom, because remember, they were behind a closed door. And number three, the only way to get around number two, in terms of if there wasn't a window in the bathroom, if the sniper had some kind of like heat-seeking goggles where he could have saw, Hannah. And I know this sounds ridiculous, but this goes along with what Jim was saying. So personally, I don't believe that Jim inadvertently, as he said, had anything to do with Quincy Jr.'s death. But I think he ran his mouth too much, so he pretty much and remember, Candace isn't thinking straight right now as it is, so he just planted some seeds of deception in Candace's mind. And again, I did like the nod of that these two pretty much are at the at a hotel, just like it, them hoes tell, just like episode 1 when they first met up. And what I didn't like is the fact that it's kind of like it's like, I don't forget anything. And then Candace like, neither do I. And then, she glared at him as Jim went into his room. I mean, it was good bringing it full circle, but at the same time, it's kind of like things are getting a little stale, in my opinion. I just don't like the whole back and forth between the two, because it's gotten kind of old. I mean, don't get me wrong. I understand that Candace and Jim are the keystone, so to speak, of the series. Like, their actions pretty much dictate the rest of the events of the series as a whole. But it does get a bit stale, just because it goes back to the whole message of, Candace is never going to learn her lesson, because bet money these two are going to go at it again, and then more people they care about, or let's just say people in their lives, are going to die off, and then they'll be the last one standing. And another thing, I just kind of plug this in here. Just because the show is gone until January does not mean I will not be uploading videos. I actually have a list with 20 video concepts on the haves and the have-nots to do over the break, like a season overview, some of my favorite moments, my top 10 phrases from the the entire series, like I'll handle it, number 9, things like that, and just other things like the new Tyler Perry show that's coming out in 2018, which is a spinoff of House of Pain called The Pain. So trust and believe I will be plugging in videos between now and January, because I know it seems like the show is going to be off for a while, but considering September is almost over, then we have October, November, December with the holidays and everything. The show is going to be back on before you know it, people. Let's just be real. The show is going to be back on before we know it. And so we talked about the whole Candace thing. I guess you could say the last thing, if I'm correct, that we need to discuss on Candace, from the funeral home to the hotel. And it looks like, she isn't having it with Charles right now, because, he wants her to call and, see her again, but it isn't going to happen. Charles is going to come back. There's no doubt in my mind, because leading to the whole Veronica situation, let me just say here, the fact that Veronica wants to team up with Candace, that lets me know right there. I've been waiting for these two to team up ever since season 1. I forgot the exact episode. Remember when Veronica had David followed because she speculated that he was having an affair, and then that photographer snapped photos of David delivering the sports car. Remember the red sports car that she blackmailed from Jim to, I believe it was the law school, if I'm not mistaken, pretty much the school that Candace was attending. Excuse me. And then Veronica speculated that he was having an affair. I feel like it was the episode, again, I forgot the episode, but it was the episode that Veronica confronted Candace in the bathroom at the courtroom. Basically, it was after she was taking a whole bath because she had been, had sex with Jim in his office, and then she confronted him about her about it. Ever since that scene between the two, their first verbal exchange, I always wondered, what if those two teamed up? Because if those two teamed up, I don't even think there'll be anybody that can take them in the haves and the have-not universe. I really don't. So those two teaming up would be interesting. Not to mention the whole Veronica with the Vaz situation, having the camera in there, even though Erica took it back. That was brilliant. And that leads me to believe that she still had like a camera or something planted in Jeffrey's room at the hotel. That's how she knew about Justin. In my opinion, that's how I figured she knew about it. Or, she just guessed by his voice pattern and whatnot. But that's just me. I will say that, Candace getting arrested, I guess I was right there. I had on the nose that she was getting arrested, and then her getting out. Again, this just goes to show this episode had Candace being kicked around like bad luck was following her around like a lost puppy in this episode. Like, everybody was telling her the truth. She couldn't handle it. Then she's in jail where she belongs, but gets out. And that begs the question of, okay, if Jeffrey's taking the fall thanks to Veronica, does that mean, Candace has that quote unquote clean slate offer from Charles? Because remember, Benny was originally the one who was supposed to take the fall. And I even speculated with Candace going off on her family that it wouldn't be beneath her at this point to, railroad Benny so she can get that free slate. But now that, excuse me, sorry, my voice is going out there. Now that Jeffrey seems to have taken the fall thanks to Veronica, it makes me wonder, if Charles re-enters the scene and say, hey, I saw on the news this Jeffrey cat, took the blame. And that leads me to believe Landon might step in and do something about it, because remember, he doesn't like Veronica to begin with. Well, then again, I believe it was the episode after he tried to sabotage her at the campaign. Remember, it was the announcement that Jim and Dave were supposed to make about running for the governor and lieutenant governor. And you had that LGBT, I believe it's excuse me, I'm sorry if I got that wrong, LGBT committee member get up and ask questions about gay marriage, and then Veronica was supposed to bomb it, but she ended up killing it, no pun intended. And Landon was like, I like her, I hate her, but I like her. So I feel like, this would be a great way for Landon to re-enter the scene. But hopefully, if Landon does come back because Jeffrey's in jail, his man is in jail, I just hope he isn't as dumb as Maggie when David got arrested, because remember, after David got arrested, she did stupid stuff like post a picture of Veronica and Benny in the newspaper, and then she got killed off. Let's hope Landon doesn't do something stupid and end up getting killed off in the same fashion. Now, the fact that those two are going to team up against David is going to be interesting to see. And even speaking to David, okay, let's kind of sidetrack. So I already talked about, the funeral home scene, Candace, just some thoughts here and there. Now let's just take a brief pause to think, kind of go more in depth in my thoughts in the finale. Like, overall, I thought it was a good finale. As I stated, I could have cut the TV off after the funeral home scene and been fully satisfied. Like, I didn't have to watch anything else if I didn't want to. Reason being is because even though the finale was good, there were some things I didn't like about it. And I will say this much. Sorry, my chair's squeaking there. There were some characters who played little role in that overall plot. Like David and Erica were in there all but maybe 2 minutes, if that. Just another scene of those two going out shopping and, getting friendly with each other. And I was even thinking, Erica, the fact that, War's dead and, Candace knows, you're not on her team, so to speak, you might be best off trying to at least, pursue a relationship with David, like for real, because your man is gone. Your partner, so to speak, in Candace knows you're not who you say you are, so you might be best off trying to get with David, though, that would spur the wrath of Veronica even more, but you know what I mean. And some people, and I love it when fans point out stuff that I don't even see, like, it looked like Erica was, number one, paying attention to what David was saying to Jeffrey over the phone, but maybe even recording what he was saying because it looked like she had her phone out or something like that. And David said, he was going to step out for a while, but then come back and call Jeffrey. But this leads to the part of the okay, put it this way. If I had to pick one part of the episode out of everything that pissed me off, I feel like if this part was removed, it probably would have been a near perfect, if not a perfect episode. Why did Jeffrey go to the courtroom? Number one, after his dad told him not to. Like, he literally had no reason whatsoever. Like Veronica was like, "You going to jail today, boy," and this and that. He had no reason to go to that courtroom, because if you remember, when Veronica literally trashed that new DA, bless his heart, he could not. And again, I want to do another video about this too, but one thing I do admire about the HAHN and have-nots, one thing that I believe around the time where, Jim was in the war room with Candace, a lot of people had a lot of backlash, like, why is Tyler Perry depicting black women as these crazy psycho bitches and whatnot? Even though that is true of a lot of women in the show. One thing you gotta admire is the fact that Tyler Perry, and not to mention the actors and actresses, are doing a great job portraying black women and men, but let's just focus on the women at this point, in strong roles. Veronica, take the craziness and everything aside, but the fact that she is a kick-ass attorney is just amazing. I love seeing, black people in positive positions like that. Yes, she doesn't always use her powers for good, but when she's in that courtroom, she's in that courtroom, and I respect that. And yeah, that new DA didn't stand a chance. It's like, oh my God, it's like he got run over, so to speak, like little Lizzie. Too soon to make that joke, too soon. But what got me was, if Jeffrey and Justin did not show up, that would have been it. Like, when she said, court is adjourned, that was it. Veronica was packing up, turning around, then she caught her son in her eye, and it's like, wait, one more thing. And I'm just like, oh my God. Like, literally, if Jeffrey and Justin did not show up, that was it. Like, what would have happened? Nothing. So, I get that it was to move the plot along, but I feel like, if anything, that part of the episode could have been written a little bit better, because what got me was earlier in the episode when those two were still in the hotel room, and Jeffrey was trying to, tell Justin, like, look, my mom, she'll do this. She's not bluffing. And then, what got me is, Jeffrey is trying to make Justin see the seriousness of all this. Next thing he knows, like, hey, make love to me. I'm like, what the hell? Like, what are you doing? And then, that's when Veronica slipped that note under the door. It's like, I know he's in there. And then they go outside and let go of my $4,000 suit. And then then the whole Black Lives Matter thing, that was funny in the preview, but when I saw it in the episode, I'm like, that was, I don't think that should have been written in there. It's like, maybe during the filming of this episode, it was like, remember, these episodes are filmed well in advance. This probably went down during the whole Black Lives Matter movement in America, earlier this year and last year. So it would make sense, hashtag Black Lives Matter would be, in this episode. But at the same time, I feel like her saying it the first time was funny, but then after that, it just got a bit redundant. And I guess you could say that anytime Veronica, what is it with Veronica in elevators this season? Last time she was in the elevator, that's when she went at it with Erica, and that's when David and Erica got out of there as fast as they could, and then she was laying in the floor pretending that she was being abused. I'm just like, man. Two things: never drive around with Melissa, and never get in the elevator with Veronica. I feel like that's one of the key points of this season here. Now, let's see here. I mean, aside from that, and again, I could be wrong here, but aside from the ending scene with Veronica, I guess you could say the only two other scenes to talk about is, and again, this goes back to characters who aren't even there. Like, where the hell is Oscar? He hasn't been in the show for like 4 episodes, has he? Like, when's he going to show up again? Put it this way. When it comes down to the Anna and Wyatt, I like that scene. Again, more beautiful outside scenery. But there are two things that I wanted to point out. Number one, the fact that a priest walked by them, walked between them real quick, turned around, kind of nodded his head as sign of hello, and then Anna smiled and kept walking, and Wyatt kept walking back. People were wondering about that. I feel like, again, great character development. It's a way of showing us, oh snap, Wyatt is still shaken from what happened to him as a child, when remember he got molested or taken advantage of by that priest at the Bible camp. Remember the priest that Catherine made disappear? He was the reason that Wyatt started substance abuse in the first place. So I did like that nod. That could be foreshadowing for Anna learning more about Wyatt. But I do have one complaint, and again, this is something that isn't as bad as the whole Jeffrey going to court, but it's one complaint. In the preview, we saw Anna and Wyatt making out. We saw them making out. Correct, and I watched the episode twice. Correct me if I'm wrong. But was that scene not in the final cut of the episode? I was a bit mad by that. Yeah, I said it. But I don't know. Maybe it was cut. Maybe it got cut because Wyatt recently got engaged. I don't know. I mean, personally, I would have liked to seen it. Just hang on a second. That didn't sound right. Just because it would have been interesting to see Wyatt more in tune for love. The reason I wanted to see it more is because after that priest walked by, Wyatt was really shaken by that. And, Anna was being sweet, saying, like, hey, when the DA is there, I can see your pain, and, you were talking and you were being honest. And then it would have been interesting to see those two, just getting comfy at the, at his apartment and, doing what they're about to do. But I was kind of upset that was cut from the scene. Now, I guess you could say we're getting to the winding down to the final part of the episode. I guess you could go back to, Melissa, and I called it. Somebody pick up that phone because I freaking called it. That was Melissa's car in the wreck. I told you that it was a vehicle not seen before, and it had to be from a character who was somebody we know, but we haven't seen the ride. And I also said, hey, Melissa's ride is quote unquote raggedy to be seen out in front of Veronica's house, and I was right. And the fact that Veronica was driving was like, that took me out. I didn't see that coming. But I will say this much. In terms of Black Lives Matter, I did find it, excuse me, a bit funny that Justin was the one to ram him from the back and then drive slow casually by after he saw the car wreck, because I'm thinking, like, as Veronica said, no Black Lives Matter except this one, pointing to Jeffrey, and I'm like, well, she's right because he possibly took out 2 people. Well, technically he didn't take them out. Melissa was the one to lead to the road wreck. It's kind of funny when you think about it, because even though Justin was ramming her from the back, it was Melissa that truly made the car crash. Almost like the whole, Justin ramming the car is just like Hannah leading Warlock to the hotel where Candace and them were staying. But Melissa was the one to lead to the car wrecking, just like Warlock was the one to shoot around and hit Quincy. You see where I'm going with this? As Jim would say, inadvertently. And, wow. Let me just tell you, my short answer is no. I do not think Veronica's dead. Melissa might be dead, as well as the baby. I really do think those two might be dead. But in terms of Veronica, she's probably, banged up. I don't think she's dead. And, wow, she's just hard to tell what to talk about next. I will be doing more breakdown video. Like, this video is 24 minutes, but trust and believe there are a lot of things I didn't fully get into because I wanted to talk about it more in another episode. Like, for example, when you look at the parallel line, so to speak, of, Hannah loving her grandson, but then losing him. It's kind of funny when you think about it, because Hannah and Veronica, you know, Veronica doesn't give a damn about the person carrying her grandchild, but loves the unborn child to death. Hannah doesn't really care for Candace. Yes, she has shown moments of showing that, hey, I love you, but doesn't really like Candace, so to speak, but loved little Quincy Jr. And then, you know, Quincy's dead, and possibly this baby's dead as a result of the car crash. So that just goes to show the parallelism of these characters in the show, and I love that. But please, 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 please let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. As a whole, this episode was really good. I did like the beginning the most. Great acting, picking up where we left off last week. Put it this way, the beginning of the episode had me choked up. The ending had me just shocked. From the courtroom scene to the car wreck itself, I was shocked. But something else I wanted to talk about is, I talked about before, the whole Jeffrey thing. In my opinion, I think it could have been better written in terms of, you know, the ending of the episode, because Veronica in the courtroom, everything was good up until the point where, you know, Jeffrey showed up and everything just started falling apart, in my opinion. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. What did you think of the Veronica show, the season finale? Please subscribe and like this video, because again, I have more on the way. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. And hey, January is going to be here before you know it.